Hey guys, today I've been reading a little bit about Sea Gypsies, specifically the Moken people, because one of my lecturers from music school has started this crowdfunding possible project, which I'll put a link to in the description. I don't know if I can put one in those little cards that pop up on which side, is it that side, I think? But yeah, no, it's actually really interesting. Like, I'm more of a heavy metal chick. So this stuff is like traditional music, from these sort of like sea tribes, kind of. So when I look at it, I'm sort of like, this isn't really my thing. But he's got this little video on there where he explains what the whole project is, and it's actually really interesting. So, if you want to go and check that out, I think he's going to start a YouTube soon as well. But yeah, that hasn't happened yet. You can only watch this on his Possible page at the moment. So if you go to the thing I'm linking, there's a little box that says Pledge Now. I think Possible is basically the Australian version of like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. But yeah, there's this little Pledge Now box, and right next to the actual Pledge Now button, there's a little play button, and you press that to see the video, which I think is an odd design choice from Possible, but what the hell, you know, it's there. Have a watch. It's only like 3.5 minutes long, and he tells the story, and yeah, no, heaps interesting. So what the project is about is like their music is kind of dying, and you know, I when I first heard about the project, I was thinking, oh, that must just be because, like, you know, the young people are moving on and the music's dying because of that. But actually, there's more complicated stuff going on. I'm probably not going to do the greatest job of explaining it, so you should watch his video or like read. Like, he's written this story on there, and it's pretty cool. But like, the basic idea is, I hope I'm understanding this right, but you have like a keeper of the music, and that keeper is kind of like the person who, well, they hold the music, and there are other people who play the music with them, but they're like the wizard or something. And so they have to then pass that music on to someone younger, and then they become the next holder of the music, and that's how they pass their music along. Instead of just everyone learning the music, it's like you have one specific holder. And he describes a story of where, like, the holder of the music had died without passing the music on. So even though other people knew how to play the music, they weren't allowed to in their culture. I don't know if it was like a disrespect or something like that, but like, you know, really interesting kind of cultural dynamic there. And I was like, especially when you think of it as like wizards and stuff. But that's just me. Yeah, so I've read through this whole thing, and there's like pictures of them hunting and stuff. So like, there are sea people, so they make their living off, like, they make their sort of hunter-gathering lifestyle off fishing and just like the ocean, basically. They're an ocean people. And I actually just stumbled onto this video, which I guess I will also link, and also hopefully put on up here a little link. But if it's on the other side of the page, I don't know, I get really confused with these things. Anyway, I will put a thing in one of the cards, and I'll also put a link in the description. But I found this video from the BBC. It's a pretty old video. It's from 2011. This one's only 1:51 long, and it's about how the kids of these sea gypsies can actually see underwater much more clearly than us Westerners. And of course, me with my glasses. Yeah, no, good luck to me seeing clearly anywhere unless I'm wearing these. But yeah, no, this interesting thing about how they see underwater. It's like, it's not just they're used to opening their eyes underwater, because, like, I need goggles if I'm going to open my eyes, really. And I haven't been swimming in ages because I'm a cat and I don't like water. But anyway, no, let's not get off topic. So these kids, the way they see underwater is they actually have control over their pupils. So when you're in a dark environment, you know, your pupils expand to let more light in. But if any of you know anything about photography and like how apertures work and how that affects the focus, you know, like how much stays in focus and all that kind of stuff, probably explaining that badly, so let's not make too much of an attempt. But basically, when your pupils open wider, that makes it harder for things to stay in focus. So what these kids have learned to do is actually constrict their pupils so that, like, you know, you're letting less light in, but the image is much sharper. And I was just like, you can learn to do that? That's nuts. Now, the BBC thinks that if you are young, then it's relatively easy to learn. Although when I was reading the Wikipedia article on the Moken people, that was saying, what exactly did it say? It was like, they haven't actually studied whether or not it's genetic, or if it's just from, you know, doing it a lot and getting used to it and, you know, learning the trick. Because, like, when you go into a dark place, at least for me, I have no control over what my pupils are doing. And then, you know, you go out into the bright light and suddenly your pupils go like, nah, to try and stop it from being like all blinding. But no, these kids can do it on command. I just think that's really amazing. Yeah, so the Moken people. But, yeah, with the music stuff, right? So, did I explain what his project is? So the music of these people is dying. And my teacher who's running this project, he's going to record all that music, and he's actually been recording music from a lot of these places for like years. When I was studying, gosh, I must have started about 2009 and finished my degree in 2012, but then I went back and did some extra study in like 2014, and I think he left around end of 2014 or maybe 2015, I don't remember. But through that time, like, he was offering these recording sessions where you could go to a lot of these places and learn to record, you know, in the field with portable gear, and all these like smaller tribes that a lot of people don't know about, that don't get a lot of attention. Some of them are quite hard to access, so, you know, you've probably got to be fit to go on these trips, which is another reason it's not really for me, because I am not fit. But yeah, no, he takes students on those trips, and I think he's actually still got the Facebook page Sound Expeditions, and they've got soundexpeditions.com is the website. I suppose I should have gone to the website to check, but it's basically international sound recording expeditions for audio students, musicians, and anyone else with an interest in music and sounds of the world. So actually, you could probably hit them up and go on one of these trips if you were that kind of person. Yeah. So he's now focusing on the Sea Gypsies. Now, Sea Gypsies is actually 3 sort of broad groups of people. So he's starting off first with the Moken people. Yeah, and going there to record them so that, you know, the music from, like, the wizard person who holds the music, even if they die, it'll be recorded. And he tells a story about how, like, he recorded the music, the guy died, but before he died was like, can you bring the music back, because I've got no one to pass this on to. And so my teacher actually did bring it back, found out this guy had died, and found out that no one was playing the music. So he's like, hey, I got this CD, your wizard dude told me to, you know, bring the music back, so I'm passing it on to you guys, and then they could play it again. So there's that. Also, there is a problem with the youth going off and doing stuff, because, like, no one wants to do what their parents are doing, right? Especially when you're heaps young. You know, I come from a rather conservative family, but here I go being a heavy metal musician and stay-at-home bum. But yeah, no, so the kids are leaving, and that's one of the reasons that the music's not being passed on. I'm a little bit confused about why the wizard dude doesn't just pass it on to, like, one of the other people who already knows the music, but I guess at some point, like, maybe it's an age thing, maybe there's some protocol regarding, like, what generation you can pass it on to. Maybe it has to be specifically a young person, and then even if you pass it on to someone who's, like, roughly the same age, they're all going to die, and if no one else is young enough, they'll all die off before they pass it on. So I guess that's a bit of a problem. Yeah, I don't know. I'd kind of like to know more about how that cultural thing works, because I don't know why, I just find that interesting. But yeah, so a lot of the kids, especially they have access to social media. Apparently the internet's not great in that area, especially the more isolated tribes, but there is internet, and so they get on social media. They see how polished the Western world looks, because, you know, of course, people post all these amazing pictures on Instagram, regardless of how good or how shit their lives are. So they see all these idealized pictures, and they're like, this tribe's holding us back, and so they go off and leave. And, like, you can't really blame them, because times change, and there's only so long you can preserve a way of life. It's unfortunate, but if people want to change, you can't stop them. But, you know, for cultural, like, memory and so on, it's worth it to try and record these things. You know, for, like, later, because some of these kids might, like, when they're older, be like, oh, I wonder what that all was about, and then they can rediscover that culture. It's a bit like me growing up in Australia despite being half Japanese, and then, you know, trying to find out more about Japanese life, and what would my life have been like if my parents had decided to bring us up in Japan instead of Australia. I mean, Japan and Japanese culture is not endangered, so there's a different kind of thing, but it's sort of like that same feeling. Like, it's not a rational feeling. It's sort of just like, oh, well, this is where I came from, and I'm drawn to it. My brother Dave, not so much, which is interesting, because he's the one who actually looks Japanese, whereas I'm the one who looks white, but I'm interested in the Japanese culture. So, yeah. But, you know, I can imagine the Moken kids who do leave sort of feeling like, you know, when they get older, oh, maybe I did want to know about that, but by then it might be too late. So, yeah, my teacher, his name's Greg Simmons, he's going off to record more and more of these tribes to get as much of their music as possible. And then what he's going to do with that is, like, put this stuff on YouTube and, like, easily accessible things. I think he's, like, a little bit concerned about, you know, like, if you did this sort of thing through a university, then sometimes it ends up behind, like, university systems, and he's not so into that. He wants it to be, like, out in the open, so they can just search up their tribe on YouTube and then find out stuff. And you can already find stuff about the Moken. I just did a quick Google, and there's a few videos, yeah, about, like, especially about the swimming thing, and then there's different projects to try and document different things. But in terms of high-level recordings, I don't know that many exist. I think some of them probably come from Greg Simmons leading expeditions. But yeah, no, because Greg Simmons, he's, like, been an audio dude for longer than I've been alive, basically. So he's got a ton of experience, and he goes in with this portable gear and, you know, sets everything up and gets high-level recordings of them instead of, like, just getting a phone at them or whatever. But yeah, no, there is some stuff that you could probably have a look at. And then I know that Greg's recorded a lot of stuff. I'm just not sure exactly where they are online. There are some videos on that Sound Expeditions website. Oh, there's a recordings tab. Hey, you can go there and see some stuff there. Yeah, anyway, I shouldn't get too bogged down in that because I'm supposed to be making a video. Also, like, the Wikipedia I was just reading. The Wikipedia article's nice and short, which is nice. But, oh yeah, look at me getting off topic. So, apart from the kids going away, another problem that the Moken people are having is, so they sort of are between Thailand and Myanmar, and, because, like, so they're a sort of nomadic sea people, and because they're moving around all the time, I guess it's a little bit like Australia has Aboriginal people. They don't really tie themselves down to the land, and with, like, a lot of, you know, developed world kind of stuff, you kind of have to own your land for people to respect your land rights. So it's that older style where they just move around and whatever. So legally that's given them some problems because they haven't really known how to claim their traditional lands. And then there's, like, oil being discovered in the area, apparently. So, of course, you know, the oil people come in and want to take over the land. And then there's, like, people, what is it? It was, like, developers were coming in. Where did that say? Yeah, I don't know. There's been a lot of problems with, yeah, they've been the target of land grabs by developers contesting their ownership of ancestral lands. So there's that. So I think there was something, it was a little bit vague, but I think some of them have been moved from their usual ocean lifestyle into actual villages. They've been settled there permanently. So I don't know if that means, like, do they still have access to the ocean or do they not? Because if they don't have access to the ocean and their whole lifestyle is about the ocean, you can kind of imagine that lifestyle dying off, especially as the young people come through and don't really get to experience that. There are clearly some who still have access, or at least in 2011 had access to the water, because the BBC could go and film them with the fancy, like, they even do like a infrared eye thing showing like how it's all working. That's pretty cool. Blah blah blah. Yeah, so basically lots of problems for them. He's gonna go and record them, and I think he's doing videos as well soon, and hopefully video blogs. I've been waiting for ages and like, hey, can I subscribe to your channel yet? And it's like, doesn't exist yet. I'm like, damn it, hurry up. Because he's a really interesting guy. He's like the punniest teacher. So he taught audio technology mainly, and there was another class I took with him, might have been like sound and multimedia, or I don't know, it was sort of more of an artsy thing. Anyway, so, but audio technology, I was so sad when he left just before I got up to Audio Technology 5, because when you go through, this is when I was studying audio, when you go through audio, everyone's like, when you get up to Audio Tech 5, like, the secrets of the universe are revealed. So, like, you know, about how audio things work, I guess. But one of the things in that is you learn about audio file types, and, you know, all the specific, what do you call them? What do you call them? I don't know, the different statistics to do with the quality of the music, like how many bits it is and the sample rates and stuff like that. Yeah, so some of that's a bit dry, and when I finally got up to there, I think I lasted one class before I was like, I am just not going to get through this class, because it was this other dude who I'm sure was plenty knowledgeable, but just was boring to listen to. Whereas Greg Simmons, you sit in one of his classes and like, sometimes you don't even know the joke's coming, or that the joke even happened unless you're actually listening. So was it Audio Tech 2? I was sitting in a class next to one of my friends who didn't know much about what Greg's like, and she was writing down word for word everything he was saying. And so he's talking about electronic components, right? So, you know, you've got your resistors and all this kind of stuff. But he gets up to this specific point about transformers, and he's like, now, transformers are more than meets the eye. And my friend's writing this word for word, and then he's like, hang on, and he just like casually throws in a joke there, and if you fell asleep in the class, you would miss that joke. So I was always like, oh boy, here we go. And sometimes there are like dad jokes that are worse than that, and it's just the most fun when you're in a class and someone's making dad jokes and not even hamming it off, like just casually chucking in a dad joke, and sort of like, you can kind of tell who's listening based on who has a giggle about it. He also does a great fireworks dance. I don't remember what the fireworks dance was about, but it was fun to watch. Can I edit in some of the photos? I don't know. He's fun to Photoshop into like Batman or paranoid tinfoil hat person. Yeah, and then I think by this point in my life, you know, I'd been at university on and off for a while. I had already finished my undergrad composition degree. So I think there's a point, like, when you first get into uni and you're like a first year student, a lot of people are really shy and don't want to speak up and don't talk much to the teachers. But there are always students who do talk a little bit. But it tends to be like older people, I think, because once you get to a certain point, you realize, like, when you're in school, the teachers kind of feel distant, especially when you're younger. They're like big people, As you get older, like, you know, you can joke with the teachers more. But with university, like, at first, I think people are intimidated. But then you're like, they're just people, you know, really. They've got qualifications and experience, but in the end, they're just people. And you can have more fun. So I used to joke with him in the class because a lot of those guys were new, like, freshly out of school kinds of people, whereas I'd already finished a degree and kind of like, hey, I used to be shy, but now whatever, fuck it all. So yeah, we had a bit of fun there, joking around. I think I convinced him to climb into a box that was in the room one day, which was kind of fun. I also turned up to class in my Pikachu onesie, and I think I probably came in my dragon onesie as well, and, you know, just like having fun in that class. He's one of the more entertaining teachers and a good guy to talk to. So actually, there is, with this Possible campaign, so among the rewards, how far down is it? Like, you can get recordings. Oh yeah, there's the $50 level. You can have a voice chat with him, and I think it would be fun if you can get onto the right topic. You know, that'd be quite amusing. Although you could talk to him about more serious stuff, like if you're interested in recording and anything to do with audio. He knows a lot of that stuff. Someone's already chosen that one. Oh, 2 people have chosen the one. So he does mix critiques. So you can send him your mixes and he'll send you back advice, and then you can go backwards and forwards and you know, just improve your mixing skill. His philosophy is like, instead of showing you how to do things, he's going to tell you how to do it and then you do it. And so sort of like you learn. I mean, I think most people learn best by doing. If someone is just talking at you and giving you advice, you're like trying to absorb it, but if you actually do it, you learn it better. And I think that's kind of a cool philosophy. So yeah, 2 people have chosen that. A few people have chosen the smaller awards. Because it's only been like a day or something that this has been live. He's already made $450 out of a nearly $2,000 target. So that's a pretty good start. Yeah, and then there's like different producer credits and stuff that you can get. Oh, and if you're really into like high-end audio, he's recording this at like some ridiculously high quality level, which I don't think my ears are good enough to know. But yeah, you can also get handmade gifts from the actual Moken people. There's only 3 of those available. And then there's like the big one is you can actually go on the trip with him. This is happening in March. So yeah, if you have a lot of money to burn, you can basically fund the trip, go with him, and go to these places. Sounds really interesting. It's just like, because it's like the sea people, you do have to walk in the sea a little bit. So he's got all these details about how he's going to protect the audio gear, and I think there's some film gear going along as well. And, you know, I don't like water, so that's really not for me. I mean, hard enough to convince me to have a shower some days. Anyway, I think it's a really cool project, and that's why I've ended up reading too much about Moken people. I mean, I only just kind of started really. Before this, I didn't really pay any attention, but now I'm like, oh yeah. And there's a couple of other groups that he wants to record one day, and I do not know how to pronounce this. Orang Laut of the South China Sea, Malaysia/Indonesia, and the Sama Bajau of the Celebes Sea, Indonesia, Philippines. I don't know how to pronounce this stuff. You can just read it, and if I'm wrong, well, whatever. But yeah, no, I just like read through it yesterday, and then today I've sort of been scrolling through the Wikipedia and some of the Google and finding that video about them being able to see underwater. You've got to watch that one. That one's crazy. It's just like, how? You know? The closest I've got to that is like, you know, when you go to the ophthalmologist and they want to shine things in your eyes, they give you these eye drops that make your pupils go really wide, and then even when you're in bright light, your pupils are still really wide and everything is all bright and horrible and you're like, ah! Which is kind of the opposite of what these kids are doing. They're learning to do it the other way. I don't know, maybe I should stand in the mirror and see if I could do it, but I'll probably just like, I don't know, my eyeballs will explode. Anyway, so that's what got me distracted today. I'm planning some other videos. There's one that might take me a little bit of time, so in the meantime I hope you don't mind so much my ant videos, because that has been about all I've been able to record lately. But now things have settled down around the house, at least for a little bit, although next week's gonna be, let's not think too much about that just now. So I'm planning some more stuff. Hopefully it won't be too hard to record them. It's just like, I got distracted by this today. I was waiting for a package to arrive, so that's arrived now. I can now plan the thing I was going to do with that. But yeah, no, today just got distracted. Been doing some singing practice, and then looked at this again, and then was like, I should Google the Moken people. And then I'm like, oh, that's a lot of stuff. Oh shit, it's 2 o'clock. I should really make this video before people come home. And I missed the opportunity. So yeah, a little bit of an unplanned ramble. I hope it wasn't too, like, much of a mess. Yeah, I'm also hoping to get around to some more of the requests and stuff. But you should see my list of video requests. It's really long. Yeah, so have a look at Greg Simmons' Possible. It's called Endangered Music of the Gypsies, Volume 1, The Moken of the Andaman Sea. And there's like stuff about being a guerrilla ethnomusicologist. And there's like pictures you can look at, plans about websites, how he's going to put it out there. The rewards is quite detailed. You know, I think it's really well done. I've seen people who've done really terrible crowdfunding before, and this is actually really good. I feel like I know and understand exactly what's going on. And if you read far enough, if you read the paragraph, well, there's 4 paragraphs. If you read the section about Greg Simmons, it's towards the end. Read it all the way to the bottom, because that one's fun. That made me have a little bit of a giggle, especially right at the very end. But it's better if you read the whole section and not just the very end, okay? Do that for me, just like read that bit, because I had a laugh. Oh, and his budget thing's really cool. Budget overview. It's actually like a nice little, I don't know if this is a standard Possible thing or if he made this chart himself, but it's exciting. And then he's got stretch goals, and yay, Possible. I have not even looked at Possible in years. But, yeah, that's exciting, and I hope he gets his YouTube up and running, because I think it'd be interesting to listen to stuff. I talk to him on Facebook every now and then. We always have fun little conversations about everything from audio to, like, movies and stuff, and, of course, dad jokes, because if I ever make a terrible dad joke or a terrible pun, this is the guy you want to blame. And I also blame him as well, because then I brought it home, and now Dave, who has become a teacher, ever since he became a teacher, his dad joke game has upped, and I feel like I started that, and the being a teacher thing just bred that for him. And then now my dad is finally starting to make dad jokes. You know, the one guy I know who's a dad who wasn't really doing very well at making dad jokes. Now he's actually doing it and, you know, getting the appropriate level of cringe. Anyway, this turned into a half an hour video without me even trying. Turns out I'm still bad at keeping things short. I was just like, oh yeah, just make a short video about Greg Simmons and his thing. But no, I can't shut up, can I? So, but I think some of you have been waiting for me to do a longer video instead of just ant videos. So here it is. Check out the stuff, let me know what you think, and if I'm pronouncing stuff wrong, and I don't know. I'm going to, I've got to cook tonight. Yes, they are entrusting me with cooking. That's going to be interesting. And then I've got bonsai tomorrow, and then my week is starting to look a bit busy. Can I record something on Thursday? I don't know, I should shut up. And bye-bye! You want me to fall in a self-doubt, locked in your catch-22. But if I split in half now, would that satisfy you? I totally forgot as well. I was just like looking over the Wikipedia thing again. And another cool thing about the Moken is like, because they're so tuned to the ocean, there was that 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami. They knew it was coming, and so they were able to save a lot of lives because they could tell what the ocean was doing. So that's really cool. There are a lot of like those smaller tribes that are good at that kind of thing. They still had some pretty bad devastation. I think what the main things affected were housing and fishing boats. So I think in terms of people, they managed to get people out of that situation. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. It's just like all their stuff got a little bit beaten up. But yeah, no, like, I like when these tribes and stuff can know that kind of thing before most other people. Like, if you need a warning system, maybe you need traditional people, rather than relying on some of the tech, because some of the tech we're still not quite there. I don't know how you would turn that into something more widely useful. But at least if you live near these people, listen to them when they say there's a tsunami coming. Yeah. Because I think as we become more developed, we do lose touch with some of those natural things, and it's going to come back to bite us. I'm pretty sure that, you know, at some point something will happen, and because we're so tech, we won't be able to cope, because we're used to life being quite easy. But that's going to turn into another rant, because then I will get onto the topic of, like, how compared to the past, we're living in a relative period of peace. Like, there's still crap going on in the world, but especially if you live in, like, Australia or America or Canada or Europe or, you know, these kinds of places, even though we have our struggles, like, we're not constantly at war in the places where we live. We have constant access to food for most of us. I mean, even if you're not doing well, there are a lot of charities that can help you out. So it's not the same as, like, when we didn't have technology and all these structures. You know, like, life is easier in a lot of ways than it used to be. And yeah, I could sort of ramble and rant about how that's going to bite us in the bum some point, because, you know, these periods of peace don't last. It goes in cycles, and we just happen to be in one of those long periods of things being relatively good, and when that ends, we're all fucked. Anyway, wow, I go on tangents really easy, and it's probably because I haven't really had much of a ramble in a while. I should shut up! Tell me to shut up! It's not a live stream, so you can't tell me to shut up, but I have to do it myself.